Hi everybody, welcome to Serenity Cards and Coaching. This is the second in a technique series where we're learning to color. And this month we're coloring with blendy-er pens. So there's a number of different tools that we offer, but these are blendy-er pens, and I'm going to show so many different ways to work with those today. So I'm going to show you different ways that I colored these. I also offer kits. It's too late to get this kit, but next month you could get in on next month's. Next month's we're going to be coloring with pastels, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But this month I'm going to show you how to color these different birds. So for those of you who have the kit, you can either follow along with me, or this will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube, and you can rewatch it and go along with it as you do the kit. And for anybody who wants to get on my email list or see my blog, I'm at lelameinke.com, and you can get all the information about Technique Club there. And I'll just be announcing next month's kit, and you can get on my email list too. But today we're going to color. We're going to color all these different birdies. So we're going to color this guy with colored pencils, and these for the technique series I'm featuring two different products. I'm featuring the bird's eye view, which has birds that you can color in, but honestly you could use your own birds. I can't send you stamped images, I send you all the kit ingredients, but you could use some of the same principles I'm teaching today and color your own. Stampin' Up! Comes up with a lot of birds. And then I'm also featuring layering leaves. That's going to be our last card, and I'm going to show you a really special trick using layering leaves. This comes with a matching punch, and this just has great sentiments. This is a great stamp set. So for the technique series, which is all 4 classes, I'm featuring both of those products. And so we'll color this little birdie with colored pencils. I'll show you that. And then I don't know if I'm going to go in order, but I'll do this one next. This one is using pastels, and so we'll color that little birdie. And then we'll color this little birdie, and we're going to use colored pencils for that guy.
So cute.
Thank you. Hi, Sister Carrie. I hope you're feeling better. We're going to color.
I'm feeling better. We're done with dinner, so we're here to watch.
Oh, very good. And hello, Courtney Lynn, I imagine, is there. We're going to color these birdies, and we're going to do, so some of them we're using colored pencils, some of them we're using pastels, and some of them we're using either ink pads or markers. So these little birds were colored with markers. And then this final one, I'm switching from the birds. I'm going to layering leaves, and I'm going to show you how I got some color on these little leaves. And you've probably seen my nails. I haven't had a chance to refresh them, but we had a retreat this past weekend, Celebrate in Color. It was really, really amazing, and we got to play with so many different colors. So lots of colors on my nails. Oh my gosh, and my name tag you can't see. Let me take it off. Oh my gosh, everybody got this special name tag. So sweet. Well, theirs had their name on it, but thank you, Courtney Lynn, for that. It was just so special. And then this bracelet, like there were just so many gifts and so much love. It was just a really, really very, very special event, our first annual retreat. I'm so grateful. So we're going to color this guy, and I'm really focused on the coloring today. So just to show you what comes in one of my kits, you're going to get exactly all the ingredients you need. Now, like I said, I can't stamp for you. So you're going to get everything cut to size. So you would adhere those to the front. You would adhere these layers to the front. You would stamp this guy, whatever sentiment, and I'd give you the gems. So you're going to get all those ingredients and an inside basic white layer. We're not going to focus on that today. Today I'm going to show you how some tips and techniques for stamping and coloring using blendy-er pens. The very first, well, I think there's 3 things I would like to highlight about blendy-er pens. I use watercolor paper. Now, did I bring it over? Well, we sell watercolor paper. I didn't bring the packaging over here, but I use watercolor paper. I find that if I do too much coloring with the blender pen on any other kind of paper, it's going to start to what's known as pill. It's going to start to pill. You'll see it. The paper will start peeling up. So you can play with whatever you have. If you do a lighter touch, maybe you don't need it. I love watercolor paper, so that's what we're going to use. And the other thing, because we're working with a very liquidy marker, water-based, we're going to use StazOn rather than our Memento Black. So we usually use Memento Black. We're not using that this time at all. We're going to work with StazOn. And I really recommend that you have a refill. I brought mine out because it's very possible this guy's getting a little bit light. So why don't I just show you how to re-ink an ink pad while I'm here. I'm going to shake it, and then I kind of do an S this way, and I do an S this way, and this is solvent based. It's going to settle right in. If it were the other kind of ink pad, more watery based, I would take this and kind of move it around. But if I did that, that would stain this, and we don't want to do that. So, so that's it. And then the other tip I would say is, I don't know if you can see it, but I put some like dimensionals underneath. This comes with a plastic lid, and it's easy to lose it. It's easy to forget about it. It's easy to forget to put it back in, but it does really preserve the color and the liquid. So I put dimensionals underneath this plastic guy, and it stays on. So you want StazOn, you want watercolor paper, you want blender pen, and then we'll go ahead and we'll stamp our little birdie. So we also, because we're using photopolymer stamps, and that's the white, kind of the clear stamps, because we're using photopolymer, I'm using a Stampin' Pierce mat. So this is a foamy mat, and I hope that tails on all the way. I kind of was in a hurry putting that guy on. So I'm going to put him so he stands. Now in your PDF, you're going to see, yeah, see, even that's a little bit light, but that's okay. We're going to let it dry a little bit. In your PDF, you're going to get photos of exactly the card, and then you're going to get instructions, and you're going to get all the ingredients and all the supplies. So there's one other thing while he's drying, just a little bit, and he's going to dry pretty quickly. There's one other thing while he's drying that I want to share with you. I discovered, because I do a lot of research too and a lot of practicing before I do these technique videos, I discovered someone was using vegetable glycerin, and it's a vegetable glycerin that's food grade kosher. I don't know why, but that's what she said is works better. So I just took her word for it. I got this off Amazon. It's a vegetable glycerin, and I went ahead and put it in my hot wild cup that I just got as a souvenir. I put just a little bit of glycerin, and I put just a little bit of water, and I'm going to use that to further get more life out of my blender pen. So now with this guy, I'm coloring him with colored pencils. Stampin' Up! Has watercolor pencils, so I can show you in the catalog on page 125 what we're looking at. I don't want to spill that. We've got watercolor pencils, assortment 1 and assortment 2. Of course, I always love having all the colors, and you know what? For $28.50, you could get so many of the Stampin' Up! Colors. For $9, you can get pastels. You get a nice variety of those. By the way, these come free with the kit next month, but we're going to use watercolor pencils for this guy. And I've got 2 colors, and you always want to have it sharpened. So we're going to go ahead and start with the sharpened pencil. So I'll show you how I did this guy. So I love an ombre look. I really love like multiple colors. And in this case, I studied a lot of the birds out there on Pinterest, and I noticed that what a lot of people did was they did darker on the head, darker on the tail, and they came in lighter around the middle of the body. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see the head, the outline is a little bit darker. And then they did darker at the base of the tail, they went lighter out, darker at the base of the wing, and they went out. Now, There's no wrong way to color. Nobody's going to look at this and say it's wrong. These are just some tips that I'm using, so you'll see me as I do that. I'm going to start with my blue first, and I'm going to put a heavier application right there, heavy application right there, heavy application right there with my watercolor pencil. Then I'm going to come in with my blender pen, and this will be a kind of a slick surface. It's not going to, all the stuff's not going to absorb into it. And so then I'm going to move the pigment across. And as you move the pigment across, it gets lighter and lighter and lighter and gives that lovely kind of ombre look. So let's just get to it. And again, forgive that the ink is not exactly a solid black everywhere. I'll let that ink pad get a little bit drier. So you can see that I'm just coloring a nice V right there. And then I'm going to do a nice V right here. I'm going to do a nice V right here. Now, quite honestly, even this saturation is lovely. Like, it's just so pretty. I could just stick with that, and I could just color with the watercolor pencil and go lighter and lighter and lighter, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take my blender pen. This is a brand new one. You also would have gotten a blender pen in your kit, and see what I'm doing? I'm taking the liquid that's in the blender pen. I'm taking the pigment from where I colored, and I'm spreading it out. And it gets lighter, lighter, lighter as I go along. And then I'm just kind of coming in. Now, if I want to clean my pen off a little bit and just have just the color, just the liquid without the color, I can clean my pigment off. And now I'm coming in, and you can't see it, but I'm cleaning up some of those stray lines. So let me show it to you now. So you can see there's no pilling, and you can see that it's kind of dark at the where the wing joins in, and it gets lighter, lighter, lighter. Now, I've seen some super cute things where people color stripes. You could have so much fun with all these, right? We're just doing it this way. But that's the same technique we're going to use. Now, this pen is nice and moist, but if my pen were getting a little bit older, or if I wanted to, I could also start to soak it in a little bit of glycerin and get even more movement out of it. I'm just going to show it to you straight blender pen right now, and I'm going to do the tail as well. So again, the pig in with watercolor paper, it's like, when you color with a crayon and there's like the wax on the top of the paper, the pigment stays on the top, so you can move it around really nicely. So I'm coming in here, and I even like this one better a little bit. So let's take a look at that. So I put kind of the darkness at the tail, and then I feathered it out.
So pretty.
Thank you. And it's really, you can see how simple it is. It really, the hardest thing is just, well, one, deciding where you're going to do the shading. And I try to help you guys with that by doing some research and having some suggestions ahead of time. But then also just staying in the lines, right? So now you can see, I told you I want the light towards the body. And so that's what I've done. I've just taken the pigment and I've moved it, and there you go. So that's it for the Pacific. That's as much as I'm going to do. When we do the next one, we're going to do, oh, Lynn's trying to get in. That's great news.
It's so pretty.
Thank you. Was that Carrie that said that? That was Courtney Lynn that said that. Hello, Courtney Lynn.
Hello.
Hello.
Doris is doing dishes.
Okay. So now I'm going to take the Granny Apple Green pencil, and I like for the eyes to have a little bit of lightness around them, so I'm going to kind of come in last around the eyes, but I am going to outline around the top of the head. Again, this is a newly sharpened pencil. And I have a funny story. I got to go to the Gutenberg Museum, where they have the very first Bible that was printed. I got to go to the Gutenberg Museum, And one of my most cherished souvenirs was I got to get a pencil sharpener. It's a really good pencil sharpener. And so it's funny, Bob's like, don't you want to buy clothes? Yeah, but I want my pencil sharpener. It's one of my most cherished possessions. I love it. So, and it's a really good one. So you want to have a really good pencil sharpener. It's just nice and sharp. You want to be able to, because otherwise you kind of, I don't know, botch up your pencils. So now here's the funny thing. You can see that we're using this same blender pen. He's got a little bit of blue on him. I'm going to wipe him off. You see that there's no blue there. So it's still full of glycerin. It's still all able to function. It might be stained a little bit, but that blue is not going to carry over. And so now that I've cleaned it off, and it's as simple as just wiping it off on the paper, now that I've done that, now I can come over and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm basically going to pull the color from the colored pencil and I'm going to pull it into the body. And I'm going really, really light around the eyes. And I might have let it sit there a little bit too long, so it's not all pulling. So I'll come back a little bit more and do a little bit more. I want to have a little bit of layer anyway and a little bit more. It's like it's not the same amount of saturation. So, so I'm going to let that. And actually, now I'm going to come in. I'm just going to test my glycerin mixture here. This is glycerin and water. Because these pens are brand new, I may not need my glycerin mixture as much when they start to dry up. And they do, once you start to use them, when they start to dry up, you need it more. But I've gone in and I've put it in the mixture. Let's see if it's going to pull it a little more. Let's see if that's going to do that. A little bit, yeah, but I'm going to come back in with some colored pencil and add even more. And you can see I've got just the lightest amount around the eyeball. I just really like the eyeball to be emphasized. But when you're looking at it, you're not really like seeing where all the specific, exactly where you colored. You do it as you know it and you're like, oh my gosh, I can see that. But when you look at it as a whole, it's just a really pretty bird. So I'm going to come in while that's drying and I'm just going to do, I always like to do a little bit of shading and I feel like the light maybe might be coming this way. So maybe the shading's a little lighter, a little darker in the back, but it really doesn't matter. I just want him to be grounded. So I'm just going to put a little bit and I'm not doing a lot of, a lot of heavy pigment right there because I just want the lightest, faintest touch. So I'm going to come in with the same pen. I could be switching sides, I could be switching pens, but I'm going to come in with the same pen and I'm just going to, and if I don't, I can wipe some of the darkness off as I'm going along. So, and you can see I actually used a different pencil motion. So that's a different thing to know too. You can use like on here, I really kind of saturated it and then I pulled so it was a smooth blend. Here, I kind of gave it like a strike, like there's a whole book about different shapes of what you could do with colored pencils to give movement. So that looks kind of like, it's got a little different, more movement, a little more texture and looks a little bit like a ground. So, oopsie. Okay, now we've got a little bit of blue. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to take that out. Well, that's okay. We're going to have a little bit of blue in the shadow. So now let me come back and let me add just a little bit more green to it up here. I'm hoping it's dry, you guys. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to add it not where it's already pretty dark, but I'm going to add it just beyond it. Just beyond it a little bit.
You make it look so simple and then I try it and I botch it up. So I need to practice. I know.
Well, I would love to sit with you and help you. I mean, I genuinely mean that. Like, this is a class, and then if you take it and try it and you come back, come to Stamp with Lela, I would love to sit with you and like do a trial and error. And this didn't just happen overnight. This didn't like, this takes practice, right? So now I want an orange nose. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I could take a colored pencil or I could take one of these markers. These are our Stampin Write markers. They're the same as our ink pads. I'm just going to put a little bit of orange here and I'm going to make sure my pen is clean. I'm going to take a little dab right there, and I'm just going to kind of come in with orange. I just want the lightest, smallest amount. And I know I want to kind of build the color. I don't want to have a super saturated nose. I want a light nose, and the marker is going to let me build the color a little bit more. So there's his little nose. So that's that guy. So you guys, I'm not going to show you how to assemble the card, but this is a coloring class and I wanted to show you how to color. So that's our little bird. Sweetie little face. You can do that with any different color.
Yay, so pretty.
It's so cute.
That's that guy. So that was with colored pencils. Now let's go to this guy. This guy is with pastels. So I'm going to put the colored pencils off to the side. Pastel is the same as chalk. So this is a new, last year we had one set of colors. This year we came out with a new set. This set this year includes Fleur de Flamingo, which happens to be one of my favorite colors. I have many favorite colors. It's in my new hat, which I love. So in your kit, by the way, you're going to get this thick white card base. You're going to get another layer, and on that layer you would stamp your sentiment. Now the sentiments I chose because for all 4 classes I'm doing the same stamp sets. I picked one of these, thinking of you, thank you so much. So I did that. So you're just going to simply stamp that, put it off to the side. I also gave you gems. Now you only need 3 for this card. You need 3 for the next card. So if you open it up and you've got 6, you know, just use the 3. I always do my gems in a triangle shape to try to, I don't know, triangulate like the focal point. So that's going to bring your eye right there. You've got the circle that he's going to fit on, but I'm just going to show you how I'm going to color this birdie. And I guess I'll do one of the leaves. So let me do that. Which bird is it? It's this guy. I love these sweet little faces. And we'll do this guy. So let's get it inked up. And I would have given you, so in your kit, I give you enough watercolor paper to do the activity, and then I give you enough. I gave you 3 sheets extra for those that bought just the kit. So, so there's enough room, actually, and you get extra sheets, but fit your bird and fit like 3 leaves on there if you can. I didn't do that here, but fit your bird and your 3 leaves. And then we're gonna punch out the leaf, and I'll show you how to do that. This is a tip that somebody learned this weekend that they didn't know. So I'm going to cut my bird so that I make sure I don't punch my bird. And by the way, these leaves are punched. I'm going to show you how to do that. This bird is fussy cut. What that means is I colored him and then I went around and I cut him, and I'll show you a little tip about that. But now Courtney Lynn did a great job teaching how to do this technique to someone at the retreat this weekend. How do you punch just one single image? You do it upside down. So this is our leaf punch. It matches the leaf stamp. I'm going to have a little handle on it so that so you can make sure you have a place to grip it. You line it up just like that, and you make sure. And what I love about Stampin' Up, everything matches. If you get a punch, if you get a stamp set, it's just going to match. And so pressing really hard. This is watercolor paper, so pressing really hard. And then you get that extra little baby if you want to use that extra little baby. It's watercolor paper. It's thicker is what I was trying to say. So we definitely are going to give it a good punch. But I used flamingo on the little bird. So let's start with the little bird and let's get him colored. Now this is where I used a little more of the glycerin because this is a little different. It's a little drier. The chalk or the pastel is a little drier, but I'm making sure my tip is clean. I think I actually took a new brush. So let me go take the old one that I was working with. But I rotate my tips all the time. I rotate my brushes all the time just to keep it fresh. but he's been resting for a while, so I'm cleaning him off. That's good. All right, let me show you how I colored this little birdie. Now you can see some of the same principles. I put a lot of the pigment right there, and then I spread it out and went ombre. I did a lot of the pigment right there and then pulled it in. I'm kind of following where Stampin' Up says the heavy shading should be. So he's got his little alfalfa sprout hair, so I put it there. He's got some darker shading over here. So Stampin' Up artists sometimes give us little tips about where to put a little more, you know, heaviness of color. So I kind of followed along with that as well. But let's go ahead and just show you how we do it with the pastels. So, and by the way, there's this many colors. And they will last a lifetime. But the Flirty Flamingo is the new one to the palette, and I'm just going straight onto the chalk itself, and I'm gonna just kind of go back and forth in color. Now, because I first picked up some pigment with it, I'm gonna go into the places where I want to saturate and where I want the darker application, and then I'm gonna pull. And then I'm gonna come in here. I'm going to do the same thing by the tail. I'm going to come in where I know I want the heavier application, and then I'm going to pull it out. And then I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go over here where I know I want the heavier application. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of get all my heavy areas covered. And then as I know I still have kind of some color to work with, I'm going to keep bringing it through the rest of my little baby bird. And I'm going to do my little alfalfa sprout here. What was that show? That was Little Rascals, right? So there's my little alfalfa. And now I don't want heavy pigment too much more. So I can come in here because it can go down a little bit. And then as it starts to get lighter, I'm going to start to bring that color other places. So I put a little bit more here so the wing had some more. I told you I like to go light around the eyes. I don't like a lot of color around the eyes. I really want those to, I don't know, you can't see it, but the eyes, like if there's not as much, your eyes will go where there's kind of not as much color. So you'll just see that they're not hidden. So I'm really, truly, it's as simple as this. I don't know that I did much more. I probably put some yellow on the nose, but it was just truly, and that, so the whole thing about pastel, so if we think about it, these are called soft pastels. What do we know about the word pastel? It's light. It's something light, right? It's not dark. It's not heavy. So we've just got the sweetest, lightest application, truly. Like that was it. How long did that take me? That took like 2 minutes. It was nothing, right? And I mean, thank you. If you're finding there's too much, I mean, you could try to pick it up and then bring it out here. You might like pick it up. I don't know. I'd be careful of like spreading it. Oh, I got a little nap. I'd be careful of spreading it, but you can pick up some of the pigment and wipe it off out there too if you want. And then I'm just going to do the tiniest. So because it's pastels, I know I'm safe. I'm going to take my lemon lolly and just kind of color in the nose. My sweet little baby. So there's my little birdie. I'll show you a tip about fussy cutting. And the tip about fussy cutting is you move the paper. Oh no, these are my good scissors. Oh, that breaks my heart. I got glue on my good scissors. Well, we're just gonna roll with it. And so the you move the paper, not the scissors. So you can just watch. Like as I go to turn, I'm gonna turn the paper. I'm holding my scissors. And it takes a little bit of practice, but I'm going to turn the paper, not the scissors. So just the first couple times you try it, you might need to learn it. As with anything, right? But move the paper, not the scissors. And so that's our little tip about fussy cutting our bird. And I can even do that going into his little legs. I did here, right? Like you can just move the paper, not the scissors, and you can even get in and get those little legs. So there we go. And then I'll just show you just super simple Simon on the leaves. So what did I do? I did Coastal Cabana, I did yellow, and I did the green. So I'll just do that coastal right now because I think that's a nice complement. So I've got my palette right here. I'm gonna take my marker. I'm gonna use my coastal. And here now, I don't even care. Like, if they're leaves, I'm not paying attention at all. What I want is variety. So I might just put like a little bit of heaviness there and let it be. And then I might come over here. Now let's try the glycerin. I know I haven't been using that a lot. I was really using it on older pens, but let's try the glycerin too. So I put some glycerin on it. I'm gonna pull it up. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it moves a lot smoother. So it may not look different to you, but it's moving and gliding a lot more smoothly. So that's lovely. It's probably 50-50 glycerin and water, maybe a little more glycerin. So there we go. So then I just simply colored those guys up. So I stamped my sentiment. I put it on the front panel with dimensionals. I colored my bird, fussy cut him, put him on the circle with dimensionals. I stamped and punched 3 of these. Then when I applied this circle, I put my dimensionals in the middle so that I could tuck the leaves under with glue and they would go under far enough because you want them to be able to go under. And then I often, and I didn't do it here, sometimes I leave my, oh yeah, okay. Sometimes I leave them free so that they're kind of got a free movement. And sometimes I'll put like a dimensional under, it's a mini dimensional, under like the very tip of the leaf. So it looks like it's got some height and it's just not so stilted, I guess. So that's that guy. How long did it take to color that bird? 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
So quick and so cute.
So quick. All right. Now we're gonna do a harder one, you guys. We're gonna do this guy. And he's really got a lot of pigment on him, and he's really got a lot of ombre going on. So we're gonna do this guy. It's different than this guy, right? So this guy was a little bit quicker. This guy's got a lot more ombre going on and a lot more saturation. So we're gonna take a minute. I think he's probably gonna be the hardest one we're gonna do today. We're just gonna take a moment and do him. So which one is it? Aren't these birds just all so cute? They all have such sass and personality. They are so cute. So I'm getting this guy inked up on my stays on, and I'm gonna go right here. Perfect. I'm gonna let it dry for just a minute. And then I'm gonna get my colored pencil, and this one I only worked with this guy. So, well, and then a little orange nose. We'll do the little orange nose while we're waiting for it to dry. It doesn't take too long to dry, but yeah, blue and orange are opposites on a color wheel. So I like blue
Aunt
and orange.
Janet,
Yeah.
the beautiful coloring that you are doing and the beautiful blue that bird is,
Yeah.
and you're doing watercoloring, is the markers able to do that same exact thing, or is it just using the colored pencils?
Well, guess what? This guy is done with markers.
So pretty.
So I'm showing you, you can use watercolor pencils, you can use pastels, you can use our Stampin' Write markers, and or ink pad. So I'll show you that. This is a Stampin' Write marker is basically a stick form of the ink pad. So I'll show you that. So yeah, I wanted to make it a point with the Blender pen class to show you, you can use any of these. Let's say you get one of my kits and you only have the watercolor pencils. then do them all in watercolor pencils. Do that guy in a watercolor pencil instead. Let's say you get my kit, you've only got the pastels. Do them all in pastel. Let's say you've only got a couple of markers or a couple of ink pads. Do them all. And by the way, do you have to do this in blue if you get my kit? No. Let's say you don't have blue. Let's say you've got a purple marker. You could do it with a purple marker. All right. Now, are you going to be able to get the same level of shading with a marker? Maybe not the same level of shading of this guy with a marker, but you definitely can get different shades for sure. That guy's a marker, and you definitely can get different shades, and I'll show you that when we get to that guy. All right, so this guy, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So same thing, I'm following Stampin' Up's placement for shading. So I'm really getting good and saturated in there. And then I'm coming in here, same thing. I mean, I wish you could see it. There is a pigment sitting on the surface. Literally, there is a pigment, and it's on the surface. It's not inside of it. So you can, oh, and I'm going to shade under the wing because often they're shading under a wing. You can absolutely get this effect with, say, a thick white, basic white. You could get this effect probably if you don't do too much coloring over. I don't know that you could do this guy on anything but watercolor because we're going to keep going over it and over it and over it and over it. But I want to get to the coloring because I don't know if it dries, but if it dries, I want to get to the coloring. So I'm coming in with the pigment and I'm coloring it and I'm bringing it out. Now that face, you see, I do not want dark by that face, so I'm pulling my dark, I'm getting my dark away from the face as much as I can. So I don't care if the body, I mean, I want the body light, but I want that face light. So I'm pulling my pigment down, 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 down. And then, and only when I have a tiny little bit, then I can come up and start to come up here and give a little bit of color. I don't want much color up here at all. Okay, now I'm going to come in here. So I did under the arm, so I want to make sure that I have nice shade under the arm. And I'm going to come in here. Now, I'm going to come in and start to use my glycerin more because I really got this effect using glycerin. So I'm going to come in and start to use some more of that liquid glycerin. But you can see what I'm doing here. I've got a heavy application on the wing, then I'm coming in, I've got a little bit lighter, and then I'm going to gradually move to even lighter. Because I kind of like that trio, and I do want to blend it so that it all gets, so it looks like it's an ombre look, but I also really want that trio. And you guys, this takes trial and error. I can tell you right now, my second bird is turning out different than my first bird. I can tell you that right now. So it takes trial and error. I did my first bird like a month ago. So if I want to repeat it exactly, well, that's the thing about doing like a watercolor. You're never going to get it exactly anyway, but that's the thing. It's not something you control. So now I know I've got more pigment back here. So when in doubt, when I'm touching pigment, I always go in a place where I don't mind if there's pigment. So I'll bring it to the belly. I'll bring it over here where it's, you know, kind of doing the trio of lines. And then as it gets lighter, I'll bravely go near the face. I really just want the lightest touch when I only know I just have the tiniest little bit. So let's pause and have a look. What do we think?
Looks really good.
Pretty,
What, Carol?
very pretty.
Thank you. I could probably still fuss and fidget because I'm noticing like the head. I might want to pull out that blue a little bit more. So let's take a little bit of time. Let me try with glycerin first. Let me kind of get my pen and some glycerin. And let me just come over here and see if I can pull it. It's already kind of dry already. So if I really want a shaded look, well, I'm still pulling. It's actually letting me. It's a pull motion, you guys. It's like it's sitting on the top, so you pull it. It's a very similar motion when we get to alcohol markers, by the way. So that changed it a little bit, actually. So there's less of an outline. You can still kind of keep working it like that. There's even less of an outline. So I'm going to do it one more time. And you can see that I'm on the watercolor paper, so it's not pilling. So I put it into my glycerin, pulling it just a little bit more. This is a very meditative thing, by the way. This is not something you want to do in a hurry. This is not something you want to do like mass production on a deadline. This is just like a really peaceful thing to come in and do. So yeah, I think we softened that outline a little bit so it wasn't such a rough outline. So let's take a look.
Nice.
Sweet little face. Alrighty. So that's that guy. You see that we got kind of the ombre look there, and it kind of moves into each other. The more time you spend kind of blending it, the more it's going to kind of blend. This even had
Yeah,
like...
that's really awesome, that ombre there. And the other one too, but you can tell that has big ombre on there, yeah.
I probably spent about half an hour on this guy. We're not going to spend half an hour here. I
No,
truly,
but I could see
probably
where
did.
you probably get that with doing it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So here, I feel like I want to do a little more over here though. I feel like here I want to do just a little more blending. So now these are blender pens. And so you can see this really is, we are blending. We are blending. So you can just do a straight application of color where there's not a lot of blending. You can do multiple colors together. But there we go. Yeah. All right. I'm going to leave him be. The other thing you can do is you can let it dry, and then you can come back and kind of apply it again and keep playing with it again. The glycerin, I will say, helps it move a little bit more. And then same thing, this guy was fussy cut, so I like to like put a little of the ground under his feet. I like to put a little bit of the ground on the paper, and then I kind of line it up. And so same thing, you would fussy cut, and there you go. Sweet little baby. So that was that guy. Alrighty, now let's go to the marker. So this is the one that was the marker, and I will show you that technique. So this is peacock and pecan. That's that combination, and you're gonna get all the ingredients that you need to build the card. So there's all the layers. Now just to tell you, this guy, so this is this guy. There's no watercoloring on this guy. These are the two birds. We're going to do that. We're going to do the tree, and we're going to do the leaves, and I'll show you that. This guy just goes on the background. This strip goes on the background. I think there's a peacock strip that goes on the background. Here's sweet little babies on the inside. So you're going to get like all the ingredients to build the card yourself. Well, I'm not finding the peacock strip, but there is one. So you're going to get all the ingredients to build the card. You're even going to get the little bows for the bride and for the groom. You're going to get all of that already tied up. Now I will show you a variation of this one with the sky. So just this one has, I put the sky on it. So you can see that that was from a class from last time, like you see the clouds. So I will show you that. But we will go ahead and get this guy going. So we've got two little birds and we've got a tree. Where'd they go? Oh, I didn't take them out, I guess. Which one is it? Which one is it? Oh, it's this guy. I didn't take him out yet. We're going to do that guy. And we're going to do the tree. And we're going to do the leaf. Now, Lynn, I know you love to watercolor. Are you still here, Lynn? What things would you add that I'm not covering, or what things are you thinking of, or what questions, or what things are you learning, I guess?
I keep going in and out, but I agree that you could use the watercolor paper and go over it more than once. Otherwise, it will pill off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can get really bad. So it just messes up your work. Then you've wasted all that time.
Yeah, so what she said, if you guys didn't hear, if you do a good solid coloring one time through without recoloring, you can use a basic white thick. But if you're going to keep going over it like I do, you really need the watercolor paper or it will pill. So so she's just observing. I know her technique. She gets a beautiful technique with just a light hand, and she doesn't need to keep going over and going over and going over. She does a beautiful job. So she can get away with using different paper, and you could too. But it will pill the more you keep applying, the more you keep applying. So, so I'm going to show you now how to use, you could use Stampin' Write markers, or you could use an ink pad. So let's see if I show you the ink pad. So this is a Lost Lagoon marker. This is a Lost Lagoon ink pad. Let me show you with the ink pad, and then I'll show you with the marker. Lost Lagoon ink pad, and I could do one of two things. I could take this, be careful where I already stamped. I could take this and I could kind of just put a spot on here. So I could do that. If you don't have this silicone mat, which I highly recommend that you get, you could also, and I have done this depending on what's in front of me and how quick I'm going, you could also take a block and do the same thing. But I find that a silicone mat just gives you a lot more flexibility. It's easier to clean up, and we don't always have extra mats, and you can do color mixing and all kinds of things. But what I'm doing is washing my hand. All right, so I've got my blender pen. I'm making sure the tip is clean, and I'm gonna, so, oh, actually, I want to show you. So that's the, let's say this is the ink pad, and let's say this is the marker. I'm going to show you both. Basically, our Stampin' Write markers are like an ink pad in a stick form. Not to be confused with these markers, Stampin' Blends. That's not what I'm talking about. That's a different guy. Our Stampin' Write markers are basically like an ink pad in a stick. So I'll show you the coloring of both. So first I'm going to start with the one that was from the marker. So I'm taking the marker, and I know for me, I want my shading. I know exactly where I want it. I want it on that side of the wing. I want it under the belly. I know that I didn't get a great black stamping. You'll forgive me for that. I know that I want the darker version right there. And then I want to pull it lighter as I go along. And so now I'm pulling it lighter It didn't really have time to dry, but that's okay. I'm gonna come in with my glycerin pen. And you guys, some of this stuff is just a feel. You've got to see how it does. Like if it pulls, then maybe you're not going to use your glycerin pen. But if it's not pulling, then maybe you're going to start bringing your glycerin mixture in a little bit more. So, so I've showed you how to do it with a marker. Now I'm going to keep adding color, and I'm going over. Now this was the stamp pad. Stamp pad's going to be a little more saturated, a little more darker. I'm going to do my little alfalfa head. I'm going to do my outline there. And then here's what I do. I put the dark where I want the dark, and then once I know that the pen has been cleared of some of the saturation, then I go start coloring it elsewhere. Or I rub it off a little bit, and then I start coloring in somewhere else. So I'm going to do that. And that is too much. I want a lighter tummy. I can tell I'm going a little bit faster, so these are going to be a little darker than when I sit here. When I sit here alone, like truly, it could take me half an hour to color a little bird. It's just a quiet, peaceful little thing to do. So now I've gone in and I've gotten some of the glycerin from this guy, and I'm trying to reactivate this. Pull some of this down. I don't want the face to be all, I want the face to be lighter. I'm going to go to the marker, which I think is a little bit lighter. I'm going to start to go around like this. Then when I know my marker doesn't have much on, when I know my pen doesn't have much on it, I'll start to do an outline around the eyes. Keep coming in and coloring the face. I mean, this guy's a little darker than I wanted him, but I better make him darker.
You're pretty quiet, Janet. It's hard to hear you.
Oh, see, I get into this coloring zone. This guy's a little darker than I want, so I'm going to make him a little bit darker just consistently everywhere. But I'm just applying color a little bit at a time. And I'm making sure that I don't do it around the eyes because I want the eyes to show. So, and I want the face lighter. So I'm going to come in like that. Oh, and the other thing, I try to go the direction of what the squigglies are. So the squigglies are kind of sideways. So I kind of want to give a little bit of direction sideways. So let's come in. And there we go. That's the ombre I want. All right. There's our little guy. He's a little darker.
So cute.
Darker.
So cute.
So cute. So to go lighter, you would just go slower, and you would go lighter and you would wipe off a lot more. But what I demonstrated is that you can use either a marker or an ink pad. The ink pad's going to give darker. So for sure, we've just experienced that. A marker is going to give lighter. Pretty certain I did these with markers. The ink pad's going to give darker. But that's fine, right? Why not? So there he is. So there's our little bird. I did leave his eyes like a little, you can see, I might go in a little more, but only really, 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 really lightly. A little more so that it's not such a ring around the eyes. So he doesn't look sunburned. But, but I do like it to be light enough around the eyes. You're not going to study it, you're not going to see it, but your eye's going to go towards that. So, and then color his little nose, whatever color, and then that's that guy. So now I'll just show you how a little bit about the leaves, and I especially want to show you how when you put the leaves in, it's the same one we did last month, but I'm just gonna I'm gonna cut the branch so I can show you how to apply the leaf, because I think it's kind of cool. So again, I'm just cutting, I'm moving the paper. I'll show you how I do this, guys. So I'm coming into the corner, I'm letting the scissors go all the way in, and then I'll come here and I'll move the paper and let the scissors go all the way in. And then I'll cut around here. And then same thing. So I want to show you how I tuck these leaves in because I think it's a cute little idea. So you would color him. He's colored in pecan pie. And then I will show you how I color the leaves, and then I'll tuck a leaf in. And then we have one more super cute technique, super effective, and then that'll be for today. So I'm just going to color these and cut these. There's a trio of leaves, and I do, I think like 5 trios maybe of leaves. And I don't go all the way into the middle of the center. But what I'm going to do is, once I've colored them, I'm going to tuck it in like that. Well, let's do it there. I'm going to tuck it in like that. So I've got some, and then I'll put another one on top, and it goes over. So you've got some under,
I
some
would never
over.
have thought of leaving them together like that. That's a great idea.
So you can see here, like I poked that little guy out, he goes under. And then here's another branch. And because you're building on top of each other, you can't see it. And then there's a little dimensional, so I built like a little story. And then this guy goes under between the two, and then this guy. So this is all left together, but because it looks like it's motion, you can't tell. So there were 6, and they're all together, and you're just kind of like building a little story, So you just kind of play with it. I like for leaves to go outside the edge because I think it just, I don't know, maybe I like going out of the box, but I like to go outside the box with that. And then you're going to get the little bridal veil and the little bow tie. But let me show you how I colored the leaves. To be honest, sometimes I mix and match. So I might come in with, this is, I'm pretty sure, Mossy Meadow. So I might come in with Mossy Meadow. I might come down the middle, color directly on the watercolor paper, make sure my marker's clear, and then I might come in and move around the color. So did you see how I just did that? I colored on the paper and then I pulled it. So I don't have to do all my work off. I colored on the paper. Somehow it's not zooming in on that. Yeah, I colored on the paper and then I moved the color around. And I'll come in with more, right? So leaves don't have to be exact. So I've got some mossy and I've got some old olive. So I'll put some old olive right here. And then I'll come in, I'll make sure this is clean. I'll pick up some of the old olive. And then I'm not even filling in that whole second leaf. So I might just leave it just like that, where I put the mossy down the middle, olive kind of next to it, moved it around just so that and now I know I still have some, so I'm going to take some of that olive over here and get a good background. Like I just kind of color, I don't know, and then it's getting even lighter over here. So then I might come in with the olive, and oh my goodness, make sure you have a cap, because if you go like that, you're going to lose your tip. I just went like that. And goodbye tip. Well, anyway, there you have it. Sorry. Make sure you put your caps on. So I'll come in with my olive over here. I might dip in some glycerin. Glycerin's going to move it around a little more. Get a little bit more of a feathering. So there you go. You might just play around with your leaves like that. And then once you got them all colored, then just tuck them in. So yeah, I like really having, with leaves, I like having a lot of variety of, just because you're not studying each leaf. So I like having just a lot of colors wherever. Because anyway, leaves aren't exactly perfect. So here we go. All right, it could be super meditative. So that's that guy. And then the pecan pie, I think that I did like a darker, I colored the whole thing in a light wave of pecan pie, and then I came back in with a darker wave kind of on the top. So that's what I did with that guy. You can see that right there. It's a little darker on top. And then under their little feet, I put them on pecan pie so that they just look like they're standing there. So that's that little guy. I did the same thing. You can see I did the bubble bath. I really had the darker area on the, like this part of the wing, this part of the wing, this part of the wing, and the forehead, and then the rest
That's
was.
really cute.
Thank you. So that's that guy, and there's gems used on 3 of them, so that's the second one. So that's that guy. Now I'm going to go to a different stamp set and show you one final thing. I'm going to show you this stamp set, and when you get the kit, you're going to get very vanilla card base. You're going to get a very vanilla layer. The way that I got this is the technique we used last month. We used a blending brush, and I used it all on the background, and that was, these colors are Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock. So I did the blending brush all in the background. That was last month's technique. I stamped in Lagoon. I stamped in Peacock. I love, love, love when a stamp set has like these little unifying dots, because when you're having something like this, you can kind of take your unifying dots and just put them, that was Peacock, that was stamped off Peacock, so you can kind of put them all around. But what I want to show you today is how did I get these colored leaves? And so, or how did I get, actually we'll do it in Peacock. How did I get these colored leaves? That's what I want to show you using the blender pen. So, and here's a different color version. Let's say you got one of my kits and you don't have Pretty Peacock and you don't have Lost Lagoon. Maybe you have Crushed Curry and you have Cajun Craze. Well, how did I do that? I did it the same way I did the Pretty Peacock, which I'm going to show you. And by the way, this is the same stamp set and punch, just a different color. And so how did I get those colored, right? So they were just like individual little kind of lines. How did I get color there? Well, let me show you how I did that. So in your kit, you're gonna, I mean, you don't get the ink, you're just gonna get all the ingredients to make the card, but, and you're gonna get a piece of scrap paper to be, would be watercolor, right? Nope, it doesn't even have to be watercolor. So you're gonna get a piece of scrap paper, and let's go ahead and do it in Peacock. And I'll show you how we did that. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this guy. And this is like an immediate thing. So I want to have my blending brush at the ready. Oh, but not the broken end. Okay, don't do as I do. I did. I pushed it in. It's dead and gone. Don't do what I do. We're going to use the good end. I'm going to make sure it's good and clean and at the ready. I'm going to go ahead and stamp. I'm not even going to punch it right away. I'm going to immediately come and pull. Can you guys see what's happening? The color is spreading. I'll pull it up in a minute, but if I don't do it immediately, then you lose the effect. So, did you see what I did? I stamped in our dye-based ink, and then I colored, and I immediately got some color.
Love it. Great tip. Great tip. Great tip.
Could not be easier. I didn't have to use the glycerin. I could have, but I didn't have to. I didn't have to do anything. I stamped it and I colored. Let's do it again. Stamp, color immediately. And you do want to do it immediately, so I wouldn't punch it because then the ink dries and that's that, right? So stamp.
And that's just regular ivory colored paper, right? Or vanilla? That's not watercolor paper.
It's very vanilla thin. So it's regular, very vanilla. It's not even the
As
thick,
long as you don't overdo it, it won't kill, right?
Right? And all I only needed just that little bit. I could show you pilling since we're on that paper. That's a good idea. Let me show you pilling. So it was any color ink pad, any stamp, one blender pen, regular paper, stamp, color immediately. All right, let's show you pilling and then we'll end. So pilling would be, well, why don't I just keep adding color to it then? So pilling would be, let's say I now want to add some Lost Lagoon to it. So that was this guy, right? So let's say I want to come in. We're not going for beauty here. I'm just trying to show you what happens if you have too much. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. But let's say I come over here and I start coloring it. And then I want to lighten it. And I keep rubbing it. Here, you can see it. That's a pill right there. Pilling is when, hold on, my hands are, let's do it this way. Pilling is when your paper starts to shred like that. See that?
Yep.
So this starts coming off on your marker. Gross. And worse than that, you can really see it torn right there. So I didn't have to do that. I chose to do that, right? So Carrie was right. We just did the lightest little touch and it was perfect. But let's say you're wanting to do that colored pencil and you're coming back, you're doing it, and then you want to come back with more and you're doing it. It's absolutely going to pill here. Now Lynn has the magic touch. She does a little bit of application. She does a little bit of coloring and it's perfect, right? Somehow, for me, enough is never enough. So then I come back in and I'm like, oh, let me add some more and let me add some color. And then the next thing I know, that's when it starts. It's pilling. Yeah, that you can tell the paper is starting to pill and it's starting to come up and it's on my marker. So, so you can absolutely do a very light touch with anything I showed you and it won't pill. You can absolutely do that. But see, you do still see, I don't know, Lynn does a great job. Unless you're super, super careful, you're going to get those streaky lines, right? So you want to, maybe you don't need such a sharp pencil. I don't know. You want to color on the side. Yeah, you can do it. You can absolutely do it without pilling. But the minute you start adding more colors, more layers, more blending, you're going to start to pill. And you know what? What do we love about rubber stamping? Do it your way. Do it with your supplies. Do it with your light touch. Do it with your colors. Do it with your style, your flavor. So, alrighty, you guys. So today we saw a lot. We saw that we could use a blender pen with a marker. We can use it with an ink pad. We can use it with a pastel. We can use it with colored pencils. We can do it on regular paper. We can, oh, and we can do it just with an ink pad and coloring. We can do it with like a really, really ombre look or a very, very, very light touch. We can go so many different places and all of our different colors. So I'm going to thank you for today. I'm going to pause the recording.
Thank you for all your beautiful samples.
Come back to you guys. And let me pause the recording and come back to you.